So, hi, I'm the founder of Biotin Safari. At Biotin Safari, this is Raphael. He's coming from London and he's a biodesigner. He's going to talk about currencies and picking those. Let's see.
So, yes, hello. My name is Raph and I'm from London. Thank you very much for inviting me here today. It's a bit of a daunting task to talk about currencies and money and finance, and also combine that with biohacking. Yeah, I'll try my best to kind of explain the motivations and the general concept behind the project, rather than kind of imposing you with a solution to for a financial crisis or and what have you. So before I start, just really quickly about my background. I have a mixture of biology and design background. And I hate to be kind of labelled with institutional logos and everything, but these are the two most kind of affiliated associations that I have back in London. So in terms of my biology background, I have held various roles within the biotech industry and also in research academia. So the first one is, the most recent job I had was at Imperial College, and I was a lab assistant there, setting up the lab under Jake Baum. And what he's interested in is studying how parasites, the malaria parasite called Plasmodium falciparum, and really study how they move inside the blood and also how they invade the blood in order to really find out the mechanisms behind how we interact with the blood cells and the parasite, and hoping to find the drugs that to counteract that. And on the design side, after graduating from the Royal College of Art's Design Interactions program, I've been involved in several EU-funded research projects, mainly on speculative design. So we're kind of interested in the implications of how biotechnology and other technologies could shape our behaviours and our cultures and social changes as well. So these are one of the exhibitions that we did recently. And looking at scenarios that could emerge from the technical advances and also the biohacking. So this particular project was looking at how people could start to abuse the system and kind of use microbes as some kind of a currency that could be exchanged. And right now, so the present situation is that I am a first year PhD student at Queen Mary University, and collaborating with oral dentists and also biomedical experts to really kind of study how we interact with microorganisms. There's a whole study about human microbiome, which is looking at microbes that's living on our bodies and also outside of our bodies. And we have started to get a small idea of how they actually influence our lives. And I'm really interested in how we could actually design interactions to really learn about our interactions with the microbes. So, okay. Is there a speaker?
Oh, yes.
Okay. Connected to headphone.
Yeah, does it?
Well, it's on the other side, of course.
That's weird. Can you extend the like, yeah, no.
No, stop.
Perhaps if you switch, flip between them, because I think that one is longer on each side. Perhaps you need to concentrate. Yeah, okay. That one's significantly longer.
All right.
You don't really have to.
so here's my recent project, and it's very early stages, and it's more kind of conceptual exercise than an actual implementation. So please just take it with a pinch of salt. And again, I'd like to iterate that this isn't about, this book isn't about finance as such, because I'm not a qualified economist or financier, so I probably won't be qualified to talk about that. But I think the key message I want to get across is the hackability of the human body and the potential of microbes that we could harness in terms of its interactions and functions that could provide to our own bodies. So have a look, and what I'll do, I'll just really go through the motivations and key inspirations behind the project, and also looking at what kind of advances in terms of oral and dental hacking there is at the moment.
Biohacking movement, promoting open access to tools and knowledge of biotech, allowed a new sub-community to form within the traditional hacking circles. Peck As You Go is a product of the coalition between computer hackers and biological counterparts. With growing frustration and mistrust of the current banking system, both groups have set out to share their skills in designing and implementing a sustainable and independent way to exchange money. Taking power away from the main body of finance and into the human body, Peck As You Go system hacks bacteria that are living inside our mouths to create a form of living currency. Peck As You Go is part biological and part electronic. Microorganisms can now be modified to become highly sensitive to electromagnetic waves. This means that remote control of life is possible, allowing us to activate, store, count, or even kill bacterial cells living inside our mouths. Every transaction and levels of bacterial wealth is digitized and represented online. It creates a virtual form of biological payment system that can also be protected through a combination of digital and genetic encryptions. It's a sustainable financial system, and there are 3 reasons to support this claim. Firstly, it's human. All of us share the same family of bacteria that are unique to our species, meaning they are a truly inclusive and global currency with low risk of cross-species contamination. What's more, it gives direct financial responsibility to the individual, allowing freedom in how they manage their money. Secondly, Peck As You Go system can partly operate offline. By digitizing bacterial cells in our bodies, the system will always exist in 2 forms, as virtual data and tangible representations in our bodies. This would allow those without access to electronic facilities to use the service, and also avoid problems of power failure, loss of digital records, and electronic fraud. Thirdly, the bacterial currency can be exchanged between individuals through physical interactions, such as the intimate act of kissing, an exchange of saliva that contains the bacteria. It encourages human-to-human interactions that are fast becoming lost in a heavily digitized world. However, the biological dimensions of our new monetary system may also throw up some added friction to our everyday lives. Have you ever thought about intimately kissing someone other than your partner? A complete stranger perhaps, or even a member of your own family? And what about spitting? Have you ever spat at a street busker, at a homeless person, or into a charity donation box? If our spit, or more precisely the bacteria that are living inside our mouths, became a new form of money, these are some of the awkward scenes we may encounter. Can the new bioelectronic monetary system shift our values within our society? An act of intimate kissing would no longer be an act of affection, but would become mechanics of business and a financial ritual. Could we start to question the true value of a kiss in the future? For most of us, the act of spitting is unsociable, conjuring emotions of disgust and irritation. But if the spit became a form of currency, could it be used as a vehicle of transaction, and also a proverbial missile to attack poverty? Snot and mucus is the same. Bacteria can be dried into seed-like spores that can be stored outside of the human body. Could these become a form of savings accounts? How would they be stored and even celebrated? And could we start changing our perceptions of beauty as a result? Peck as You Go is a proposal about dual technologies, as much as it is about money, that is designed to question our values in society. Radical changes to improve our financial system is a good idea, but are we prepared to embrace the unforeseen changes? And how can we design and prepare ourselves for a better future?
Alright, so I'm not sure what you've made of that proposal. I always get really mixed reactions in terms of how feasible and practical and also safe this whole proposal could be if it was to be implemented. And I guess it's more of like a provocational tool rather than a solution or solution to a problem, I guess. But you know, I had a real reservation about how to present this idea and communicate these concepts. But I just, you know, I think that money is quite important to our society, and people need to really think about, you know, out of the box and kind of tangential ideas in terms of how we could actually redesign the system. And you know, but a lot of bio-designers, including myself, you know, are in this area where bio-design is all about sustainability, saving the renewable energy, and also biomedicine, saving people's lives. And you know, I sometimes think that sustainability could also be related to the finance world, where you can start to design with living things to actually make things more sustainable. There are obviously a few projects that's already going on, looking at using biology and living things as some kind of a monetary tool, I guess. There are ecology labs where they study the decision-making properties of bacteria and kind of modeling that decision-making on a trading floor, for example. And there are things called gene coins, which is a spin-off, I guess, or some kind of another version, a genetic version of a Bitcoin, where they're dealing with genetic information rather than the information used for Bitcoins. So I'm kind of getting a lot of noise from this area, looking at how the finance could be improved and redesigned. And this was just my personal take on how things could be actually done. And I think there was a bit of a taboo surrounding, especially art and design projects that's looking into money. And I guess it's kind of difficult for me as well to talk about it, because I think there's a certain taboo, I guess. And I kind of see that this whole money and finance is kind of shrouded in mystery, you know, with the central banking system, and you know, there is a kind of this authoritarian kind of feel to studying finance or looking at economy, for example. It's almost like overwhelming to designers and artists as well. And you know, it's really kind of gut-wrenching to talk about that as well. And but I guess it provides some kind of inspiration to people to think about systems in a very, very different way. So just quickly going back to the research on oral microbiome and dentistry, I've always been fascinated with the human mouth. Partly, you know, it's got social and cultural meanings and symbols behind it. It's got, you know, functionalities of linguistics, and it's also related to the customs, you know, the kissing and spitting and everything else. So I really wanted to study what kind of functionalities the mouth could provide in the future. And you know, I really wanted to question, you know, how hackable the human mouth is, and you know, there are already people hacking in the widest sense of how this could be done. You know, this is a really super simple example of a hacking where you have a brace system to actually modify the growth of your teeth to something more slightly more sophisticated. So this is a fairly recent development in biomedicine. So this is called the palometer, and what it does is it senses the pressure points, the pressure generated by your speech. So the idea is to provide some kind of an artificial voice box system, and it actually helps people without the voice box to speak in a more of a human-like way. At the moment, I think there are voice boxes where you can actually generate tiny vibrations within your larynx to actually generate this speech. but it sounds very mechanical and very robot-like, and this kind of counteracts the effect of this kind of electronic sounding voice. So there are researchers out there, and people are working on developing how to really, I guess modify is a very strong word, but to interrupt the physiology of of our bodies to improve our lives. And the next question really is to say, okay, we can hack different parts of the bodies, and there are people doing it, but what about extending the functionality of what's existing? So previous examples are already, you're improving what the functionality of the mouth is in terms of speech, and in terms of how you look. But in terms of extending what the mouth can do, I think that's more interesting. And there are several artists working on how to think about, what biotechnology could do in terms of improving our bodies. And this is a piece by a Taiwanese artist, and he's actually looking at how the mouth could be used as some kind of a machine or a factory. It's more of a kind of performance and slash conceptual product to actually use your mouth rather than your hand to actually power tools and different devices. This is a work by James Auger and G. Loiseau, and they're interested in how to hack a tooth, I guess, to implant some kind of a chip that could detect radio waves and generate kind of radio signals that you can actually hear within your skull. And this also goes back to the idea of surveillance and privatization of your body. This I think is quite interesting. This is another example, I guess, in a way to hack your body to extend the functionality of your mouth. So they were looking at the physiology of the tongue that's in your mouth, and it's a very flexible organ, and it's very muscular as well. The idea is to provide an optional functionality for patients with neurological disease or neurological condition to actually, so that they can actually power stuff electronically and digitally using your tongue. So it's kind of replacing your hand, I guess, to actually power these different devices that could actually help you to function throughout the day. And I think that's a very nice example of how to kind of hack your body to extend the function. This is what we call a bacterial tattoo, teeth tattoo, and these are done by a research group in America, and I think his surname is Manor. And so he's looking at different printable circuits that could be implanted onto the teeth to detect chemical and physiological and biochemical changes inside your mouth with the aim to detect and monitor very, very small changes inside your body. So this is a quite controversial one. This is a work by Kwang Hee-yu, and he's also Taiwanese. And he's a former dentist, and he's looking at how to modify the actual cells, the palate, through tissue culture, to actually modify your palate to aid oral sex. So the idea is to using your body as some kind of a sexual organ, hyper-enhanced sexual organ, to actually change how we behave, and the whole concept of fellatio as well. So as a quite an extreme example. And so I think the next question would be to say, okay, so we have these things that's available, and people are advancing towards that. And I think the break of the human microbiome research is an interesting one, because you're actually adding another layer, if you like. Obviously, one of the major talking point is that the microbes comprise a lot of our body. I think 1 in 10 of the cells are human, and the bacterial and microbial cells are 10 times as more human cells than our body. So that kind of generates a new question of identity, but also another functional layer, if you like. So if we could hack microbes within our body, we could actually add to the functionalities that we are hacking already with our human mouths. And again, going back to the human microbiome research, I think this is a fairly new development in published in Nature, talking about how microbes could actually influence the way we think and behave by interrupting the neurological systems in our bodies. And I think that's a really kind of potent thing to think about in terms of who's actually controlling us, whether it's our own bodies or the microbes. The oral microbiome is also changing the way forensics is carried out. Apparently there's a signature microbe that's unique to your own body, that's living inside the cavities of your mouth. And the way the forensic scientists are looking at is to characterize bite marks of victims of violent crime and trying to detect who the perpetrator is by profiling what kind of microbes that were living on the skin at the site of the bite. There's really kind of adding the layer of we have the DNA profiling, of course, but also having a microbial profiling, which I thought was interesting. And I've been also working with Dr. Remco Kort, who's a scientist in Netherlands. And this is kind of partly inspired, this actually inspired the Peck as You Go project. And he's interested in the transfer of actual microbes within one person to the other. And he's really interested in how transferable your bodily microbe is. And by measuring the flow rate of the microbes from one person to the other during a courtship, for example, really kind of quantifying what that actually means in terms of how we behave and function before and after having a relationship. Another scientific breakthrough, which again inspired the project, is the remote control of bacteria. This is what they've done is they inserted gold nanoparticles inside the bacterium to actually react to the magnetic waves, and they could actually remotely control the on and off switch, which almost acts like an LED, if you like, wirelessly. And yeah, that again inspired the idea behind the project. So yeah, so that's pretty much it. But I guess the take-home message is, I think we just need to think about technological advances and the implications, and think about how we can actually speculate rather than providing answers and solutions, to inspire people and think about other means of solving problems. So, thank you.
That's it. So yeah, the talk should have been 45 minutes, but we thought thank you, Raph. Also, I wanted to thank Stian for letting us do those talks and trusting Biohacking Safari even by distance. And yes, we have kind of discussion just after 6 o'clock.
Yeah, well, or you can start whenever you want.
That's the thing. So we're gonna set up the room differently, totally differently from what it is now, and we're gonna drink some algae, and we're gonna talk about shamanism and biohacking and how they can influence each other. That's my computer. You can turn it off. And yes, and so we have about 10 biohackers and artists and yeah, any kind of transdisciplinary type of people working with biology, and we're going to talk about biohacking and shamanism all together. So I think it's going to be interesting. I hope you'll be around and you'll be serving some beer also. Yeah, that we need to figure out also.
Yeah.
So,
and after that, there will be lightning talks in the cafe. More
okay.
beer.
Which coffee?
Like the canteen or the cafe out there.
Okay, good. At 7? At what time?
At 7.
Okay.